We're sticking to the copper theme here, and we're going to Argentina and Chile, the lands of the true mining copper giant deposits. And this company has a project adjacent to Filo that got acquired by $4.5 billion last year, year before?
This year.
This year? Oh yeah, they completed this year. Please welcome Allen Sabet from Mogotes Metals.
Okay, I've got a mic on my lapel. Is it working?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just to get to know you guys a little bit, who here has heard of Filo del Sol? Raise your hands so I can cater this presentation. Okay, only 5 hands, so I might have to go into that. Great. And who here is a geologist? Raise your hands. Okay, like 1, 2 geologists. Okay, good. Welcome. And don't tell anyone else what you know. What we have here, guys, is a copper, gold, silver exploration company directly adjacent to Filo del Sol. So on the screen here, you can see Mogotes Metals land package. And right next to us there on the right is Filo del Sol. This was a very large copper discovery, and it was purchased by BHP Billiton and Lundin Mining. It closed in January of this year. It was $4.5 billion Canadian dollars acquisition. And last week, on Monday, they released their initial resource, and it was a monstrous resource. So we'll go through the numbers later, but it was about 250 billion US dollars worth of copper in the ground, and about 220 billion US dollars worth of gold, something like $30 billion of silver. So it's about $500 billion of metal value in there. It's a monster. All right. This was discovered, actually it's been worked on for about 2 decades, but the big discovery that made this company so valuable, Filo del Sol, was in 2021, and it was a big exploration hole, 858 meters at 1.7% copper equivalent. Now, since nobody here is a geologist, it's big, and it's very high grade, okay? But it did take a long time to find it because exploration is difficult and risky. And that's the same for us. But what we've done here is assemble a land package that's directly on strike with Filo del Sol, which means on the same trend. And we've got a number of exploration targets here that we think are worthy of exploration and drilling, each of which has a chance to be a large deposit. So that's what we're hoping to do here, hoping to find something like that. Okay? So I'm going to walk you through this presentation and show you why we think these are good targets. Right. Is this better or is it the same? What you see here on the screen is the land package, and I'm going to tilt up a little bit, and I'm going to draw for you. So I'm going to draw the outline of where Filo del Sol is. That's the large copper discovery that we just spoke about. And we're going to pan over a little bit here, and we're going to see Mogotes land package. And the blue line you see in the middle there is the border between Argentina and Chile. So the way that this has worked is that the mountain range actually defines that borderline between these two countries, and a large number of deposits will actually occur in that mountain range. So you've got Filo del Sol sitting across both Argentina and Chile, and you can see that there. The deposit actually is bisected by the border. And over on our property package here in the south, we also are on both sides of the border. So we're in both Argentina and in Chile. That orange belt that you just saw come from north to south, that is the middle Miocene belt. So you typically see these porphyry or epithermal deposits occur along this north-south trend. And indeed, in our district, if we go back a couple, we have another big discovery along trend, which is Lunahuasi, which is with a company called NGX Minerals that have made a very high-grade discovery there, and they're worth I don't know today, but about last week, they were worth $2.5 billion Canadian dollars. So you've got a north-south trending belt, and deposits are occurring along that belt. So in this part of the world, we call it the Vicuña District. Starts with Lunahuasi, and you go south, you get to Filo del Sol. You continue south, and you're in our land package, the Filo Sur project, okay? On the same aged rocks. So these rocks are between 14 and 16 million years old, and that's where you want to be to try and find something analogous to what we're finding in the north. Okay, I think we're all following so far. What you're seeing here in the red is we've taken satellite imagery, and we've used the multispectral satellite images to categorize the type of alteration we're seeing here. Alteration is basically rocks that have been intensely modified by fluids from magmas deep under the ground. They've been marked as red. It's a simple diagram. And basically, you find this kind of rock alteration above or proximal or near to copper gold or gold silver deposits in a simplified explanation. You can see clearly the trend of argillic alteration continues from Filo del Sol south into the package that we're exploring at Mogotes. Now we're tilting, so don't get disoriented. On the right side is Filo del Sol. On the left is our ground package. And we're going to walk through a couple of the data sets that we've been using to target on our property. Is there a timer, by the way? Oh, there. Okay.
10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, good. 10 minutes left. What you see here is the geophysical response at Filo and at Mogotes. So on the left there, that's the Mogotes land package, and on the right is from Filo. There's a number of different types of electrical geophysics. You might have heard of IP and MT, and essentially they measure the conductivity or resistivity of the rocks. Okay, so this is not a definitive picture of mineralization. What it is a picture of is, do the rocks conduct electricity? Okay, so on the right-hand side, Filo has released an image at 600 meters below the surface. So this is not from the surface. And the red areas that I'm drawing on now mark actually very well the areas where Filo has drilled into and found good mineralization. And that's why they released this image, and it's from their public disclosures. Okay, so what they're saying here is the red areas are more conductive. Where we've had more conductive zones in MT geophysics, it has been actually pretty well mineralized. So it's worked fairly well as a technique for exploration. What we've put here on our side is our geophysical survey, and also MT survey, also 600 meters below surface, and we've also got a fair few of these conductivity anomalies, okay? On the other hand, on our side, we haven't actually drilled into most of these, and that's the opportunity here, that we have a number of targets that are not just from MT geophysics, but from a lot of work that we've done here, and those targets are currently being explored and developed. So we have a number here. You can see 1, 2, and there's others on this diagram, just to give you an illustration of the kinds of data that we've gathered. We've spent 3 years working here, meticulously building up the data sets, exploring the surface, and doing extensive geophysics. This is what you see here. Spent about 18 million Canadian dollars, and now we're at the stage where we're able to say we've got a number of attractive targets. We intend to go drill test and hopefully make a discovery. Okay? Next panel, we're coming up to the surface of the ground, and I'm going to pan around a little bit. On the right, again, Filo del Sol. On the left is our land package. And what you're seeing here, you can see on the right the legend, copper in soils, parts per million. So we've got guys there sampling across the ground, taking thousands and thousands of samples in a grid fashion, sends to the lab gives numbers on copper concentration in the soil. We're able to generate what you see here, an image of contours showing the more concentrated areas of copper in soils in the pink and the less concentrated in the yellow. Bear in mind the entire thing is anomalous in copper, and what you're clearly seeing here is that there's a lot of coppers moving around in the system across and well into the Filo Sur, which is our project, okay, which is great for us. Great for us. Now we're going to go onto the ground over at our project. What we're seeing here is some of the geophysical data sets we've collected. I don't expect anyone to make heads or tails of this particular image, but to show you that's chargeability. This is a ground magnetic data set. What you're seeing here are magnetic intrusions coming up from under the ground. And then this is the MT geophysical data set. When you combine these together and also take into account the surface data that we've gathered, you're able to generate robust targeting data sets to help you understand where to go first, second, and third when you're drilling. Okay? Again, this is not a mineral deposit. We're looking at an electrical response from rock. To understand what's really there, one needs to drill. And many of these targets have not been drilled at all. So that's the opportunity for us. You recall I told you, let's go back to the map. You recall that the neighbor was acquired for $4.5 billion. Our market capitalization today sits around 43 million, and that's because we haven't made the discovery yet. But if we do, And if we drill into one of these targets and it does become something even slightly analogous to our neighbors, I think you can expect a re-rate. And one can do the math here and see the difference in the valuation. Okay? Let's go back under the ground, and we're going to continue. Okay, here I've placed you in the northern end of our property, and what we're looking at here is looking towards the Filo del Sol deposit. The reason we did this is to show you they've been drilling very close to the southern border of their property, and indeed one of the closest holes and one of the last holes they released before they were acquired was 610 meters of good copper-gold mineralization right from near the surface, okay? And in their press release for the new resource, they very clearly indicated that the deposit is open to the south. So those of you who are still paying attention and not asleep would know the south is us, okay? So we're very happy about that. Stepping out, you can see how torn up the ground is there. They've done a lot of drilling, and this is the hole that I just mentioned. The mineralization is continuing and coming south straight into our property. That's good for us. Let's go under the ground again. These are the drill holes from Filo del Sol, and I'm going to read you some of the highlights from their announced resource, okay? Total copper resources of 25 million tons. That's the roughly 10,000 US dollars a ton, so you get to the $250 billion. You get to the 70 million ounces when you add all of the categories here of gold, which is phenomenal for those of you who are here for the gold. And plenty of silver. And they've drawn a pit shell in their announcement. I'd encourage you also that this presentation and everything in it is subject to the normal cautionary statements of risk involved. But go and read for yourself the Lundin Mining resource announcement that came out last week. And it's a substantial resource. And you can see they've drawn a diagram like the one here where they indicate the size of the pit, which is enormous. And really, it's right there going up to the southern border of the property. So we're very privileged and have assembled this land position over the last 3 years meticulously to secure that southern strike extension or projection of the Filo trend, and hope to make a success. Even a fraction of this would be amazing. And we're well on our way with the targets that we've generated. Let's come back to the surface here. I'm sure you're getting dizzy. Up and down and up and down. Here again, we're looking at the argillic alteration. And we're going to slowly show you some of the data sets we have at the surface. Okay, what's this? This is the copper in soils at different concentrations. It's used for targeting. I'm going to mark on here some of our targets that we're looking at now. Okay, they're in the blue circles there. This is the Terra Hutton platform. You might see this goggles and box down here. I would encourage you also after this to go down to the end of the hall where there's guys with goggles and have a try of these goggles, because we're going to take you on a site visit through the project, and it's quite informative. You feel as if you're there. You get to look around, and we have ours, and I think Pan Global as well, so the previous guys. So please do that. Anyway, we're here. Here are our targets, and I'm going to show you the drilling that's been done over on our property. These are the name of our targets, and I'm going to mark on the drilling. These targets, Cuenca, Meseta East, Los Mogotes, these are totally untested by drilling. That's the opportunity for us. So as we drill into these, we're going to know what's under there and move forward. This is the gold in soils. Here's the silver in soils. Again, multiple data sets together help us to reduce the risk of a drill program. Okay? Now we've zoomed out a bit. We've also got extensive, if you look at the extent of the sampling done here, we've collected thousands and thousands of samples all over the property. We put in something like 40 to 80 kilometers of, 40 kilometers of new tracks and 40 kilometers of rehabilitated tracks so that we can access this rugged terrain. Look at the terrain here, and you start to understand that this is a task. So our teams have been very diligent here in building up the data sets, but effectively what we have here is a number of targets where you've got copper in the rocks, or gold or silver, or depends on the target. And then underneath it, you've got a very robust geophysical anomaly, or sometimes a number of them, 2 or 3 of them. So I'll show you that now. Okay. Over here at our new Los Mogotes target, which we announced only this week, I've got 2 geophysical data sets. Let's go under the ground. All right. Can everyone see this, or should I zoom in? There we go. Beautiful. Okay, what are we looking at here? The blue is from an IP survey. Okay, so, but it's the resistivity on IP. What does that mean? It means it's got very conductive properties at 150 ohm meters or less is what we're looking at. The pinks are chargeability, so that's a different electrical property. And you can see that it flanks this conductivity anomaly on either side. Those of you familiar with the conceptual model of a porphyry and the potential geophysical response of it, which, judging from my initial survey, is 2 or 3 people in the room, this is the kind of shape we like to see. The chargeability around and the conductivity anomaly in the center. And remember, we were just on the surface, and that's where we had anomalous copper in the rocks on the surface. And this target, Los Mogotes target, is one of approximately 11 or 12 of our targets. It's not been drilled, and it's one that we intend now to drill into now that we've spent the money and done the work to justify the drilling. My time is now up, but that's okay. You're free to go down to the Terra Hut and stand there, take a virtual reality tour, and they'll also walk you through the same platform. And we welcome any questions or interest. I'm at booth number 16, Toronto Stock Exchange listed company code MOG. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Allen.